What is going on, everybody? I'm your boy, Retro Bliss, and you are on Retro Bliss Rewind. Welcome to the show. For all of you who are watching from Mike's Gaming Gala, we simulcast over there. Welcome to the show as well. We have an exciting show tonight on this election night. For those of you who are watching, I don't know what our live stream is going to be, but if you are watching, it might be a nice welcome change to all this chaos that we've had the last 18, 20 months. So I'll be happy when all this is over. I will tell you that. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Atari 2600 Homebrew with our new friend, Brian Matherne, who is an Atari 2600 Homebrew expert. And who else better to talk homebrews with who else better than Mike from Mike's Gaming Gala, if I can click on his name, and Brian from BD Retro Mods, and of course, Brian Matherne. Brian, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me, guys. Good evening.
Yeah, we have kind of been friends on Facebook for a while because we're on, you and at least I think, I'm not sure about Brian, but I know that us three have been on a lot of the Atari 2600 Homebrew Facebook pages for quite a while. And so that's how we have been friends. And so I thought, who else better to ask to be on the show than Brian? And you so graciously agreed to be on the show to talk about some things. You have written some really, really cool books. And you have actually a few cool websites, and we want to talk about that tonight. So I hope you're ready. We will be taking questions for those who are watching live. If you guys want to ask any questions, and so without further delay, Mike, first of all, what I want to do is. Just real quick, Mike, if you want to put that ticker tape up, I just want to put a website up. There is a link there at the in the middle there, an Amazon link where you guys can order his books, but there are also some website links where you guys can get some homebrews. And as we go throughout the night, we are going to be talking about these websites where you can download these. This ticker tape won't be there the whole time.
Man, I was gonna say I feel like an infomercial now.
No, we're not gonna
hurry now. 30 minutes remain.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna be there the whole time. We're just gonna be putting it up every great once in a while.
But Phil, this is Retro Bliss World Headquarters, and we've got to cover the election.
Oh no, yeah. I voted for the other guy.
Yeah, we'll have this up a few times during the episode, but it's also in the description of my video. It will be in the description of Phil's. But this is just,
yeah, we
just so that people know.
Going quick.
We want to share this
like you said, it's election night.
We wanted to wait.
That's right.
We wanted to premiere this information to those of you who are watching live. And after the show, Mike and I will be changing the descriptions of our YouTube videos to reflect the new links that you see at the bottom of the screen now. So
that good.
He's that good. All right. So, Brian, I tell you what, I'm just going to start off asking you, and Mike can, what got you started with homebrews? And yeah, just what got you started with homebrews, and why the Atari 2600?
Well, Atari was always my first love with gaming. So in 2013, I went to the Houston Arcade Expo, and Atari H was there. And at that time, there was no complete list online of homebrew games. And I met Albert and Steve Ramirez, he's in the chat. And I think after that expo was when I started the comprehensive list that you have on the scroll. From there, of course, it evolved into 5 years later, I decided to write the first book with help from Michael Salzman. He was already publishing books on Amazon, and I used pretty much his outline as far as made it like a game manual or similar to the
Yeah.
80s how to win at a certain game, novel, digest type book.
They definitely
And
have that
that's
feel.
that's how the books evolved into a series now.
I really, I know. I just recently purchased these books after we reached. I reached out to you. You sent me the link where I could get these, and so I went ahead and got them because I didn't have them yet. And boy, am I glad I did, because they talk about a lot of the games that I do like on here, and I've actually, not only that, it's turned me on to some games that I've never even heard of. So
Never known.
it's a
Right.
valuable resource in many ways, and like you say, it's not just it's not a list of games. It explains the game, who wrote it, how it came about, that kind of thing. There are pictures in the books that you can
How many
refer
players, how many players, what controller you need, the size of the game, and then I even contact the programmers to get information that you're not going to find elsewhere online. Under the tips and how to win sections at the very end of some of the titles, I actually have tips from the programmers on how to win at their own game that you're not going to find like on Atari Age forums or any online.
That's pretty cool. And as is mentioned by the comment here, I have the regular versions, but there are deluxe versions that are printed in color on the inside, so they have like the color screenshots. I will say, and this is as a graphics guy, I'm a professional graphic designer for film and television. I appreciate that the same font is used, but could you not line up these titles? My OCD is killing me on the shelf.
I know.
Hey, Brian, don't feel
That
bad.
was-
His OCD gets me all the time. He's always hitting me up with stuff. So don't worry about it.
That was
I'm
because
just
it was that was because there was two different cover designers. I do not design my own covers, so I have to outsource it. So that's the only reason why they do not line up. I say they don't line up. So that's the only reason why.
The content
it's all the same
up.
font.
They're all pretty consistent in the way they're laid out inside.
Well, yeah, I control and write the inside.
You can control that.
The covers I have to outsource. The last cover, this one, Pac-Man, was done by Jared Gray West. He's also a programmer for Spies in the Night 2, and Quantum Tunnel. And I just got to meet him at the Houston Expo 3 weeks ago. He flew down from Indiana, and I finally got to meet him and had him sign my Spies in the Night 1 and 2.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to point something out. We have a guy in the chat.
Quantum.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and his other game that's at Atari Age is Quantum Tunnel.
Okay. I don't think I've played Quantum Tunnel. I love the Spies in the Night game, though.
I wanted to point something out. We have a gentleman in the chat. His name is Operation Shutdown. That's what he goes by anyway. And he is our resident Pac-Man expert on the Retro Bliss Gaming channel here. For those of you who are regular viewers.
He's a huge fan of 2600 Pac-Man.
Oh, absolutely. Well, but that's the question. This book tells you which version. There are so many versions of Pac-Man, and this book will explain to you about all of the different versions.
You got 4K, 8K. You've got two different, well, as far as I'm aware, two different types that are labeled, that are named 4K.
Yeah,
4K,
and so it's just a really, really nicely done. They have the label art in there, intro screens for the 8K. To me, it's just so well done. Box art for some of the homebrews, because some of these games, I'm sure they came out in cartridge, but I'm not 100% sure that they all had box art, but they all had label art, right? So, but yeah, I wanted to point that out.
Not all of these were released. not all of them were released, but I tried to cover the final versions of each game and try to distinguish between what was the difference from the 4K to the 8K, what changes were made instead of explaining how to play Pac-Man. I mean, everybody knows that. So as far as what was done differently, what was added, what was taken away, and so on like that.
Yeah. But how many volumes, I know, but for the sake of the audience, how many volumes of these paperbacks did you write, not including the checklist? Because there's a separate book for a checklist.
There's five volume books, and there's one holiday book, which has Stay Frosty on the cover.
I'm missing that one.
Oh, Stay Frosty is such a good game. Both of them. There's two versions. Stay Frosty and Stay Frosty 2.
But everything on this cover is actually an Atari 2600 game. So I had my daughter hand draw this and did it in 8-bit pixelated, and it even has a Stay Frosty, my friends, on the back.
That is so cool, man. Also a good way to get the kids and the family involved. That's something that you'll never forget.
This one is double the size of a normal book because it's got every holiday, Christmas, and winter themed game all in this one, pre-2018, because this one came out Christmas of 2018.
And that's a good point to make because obviously when a book is released, that's kind of like the end time. Do you ever update these books? Like I know with Amazon Publishing, you can amend. And now I know for like the volume 1 through 5, you've selected games,
right?
So that's different. But with the holiday book.
No, I've thought about it because, like in Volume 1, I have some work in progress games. And, of course, now they're released. I think, like, Mappy was a work in progress. So that's, of course, out. But to keep everybody's Volume 1 the same, I decided, no, I'm not going to go back and edit it. My future goal is when I have enough of these volumes, I'm going to make a coffee table hardcover book and pretty much take all the information, update it, put it all in one book. I don't know if I'll ever get to it, but that's the ambition. That's the goal.
Well, because
if you made coffee table, just put that on there, right?
If you made like a second edition of Volume 1 that had Mappy, complete in it, for instance, you could sell the same book to the same people again.
Well, the Volume 1, I had like 3 or 4 titles from Spiceware, Darryl Spice Jr. And I learned that from on Volume 2. I'm like, why should I have one programmer have several of his games? Why not use 30 different programmers? So I can sell one copy to 30 people instead of, one copy has 5 of one individual's games in it. So, it was learning, trial and error. I've never written a book prior to Volume 1, so I mean it was a trial and error. But I do have 5 volume books. I have the holiday book, and I have 2 checklist books. I have a 2020 checklist book in black and white and in color. That was my first 2 that I did in 2020. And then I did update those in 2022, color and black and white. And currently I'm working on, of course, the 2024 editions. Hopefully before Christmas.
And that's, so you're kind of doing those every 2 years?
Yes.
So that's your goal?
So let me ask you a quick question. Let me ask you, we have Ricardo Pym in the house, and I don't know how he's been programming for about 3 or 4 years now, right, Mike?
Something like that.
I don't know. Do you have any of his games in any of your books? I don't remember. Do you know who Ricardo Pym is?
Games
you
Select.
got to. You got to, bro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
excellent.
but
Yeah.
well, all my books are pre 2018, and the Brazil
Oh, that
homebrew
explains it.
scene didn't evolve until 2020 ish. You know, so
Okay,
that's
that
why.
explains it then. Yeah. Well, you would, if, yeah.
I will
So,
eventually. I mean, it's coming, but I'm trying to actually go backwards. So every book I have has a couple of 1995, 96, 97, 98, the early days.
The
And I'm
older,
trying
yeah.
to cover, yeah, I'm trying to cover those and get those published and documented for prosperity, you know, and also add a little bit of newer stuff from 2000 to 2010 or from 2010 to 2020. But it seems like if I write a book, say like of a game that came out in 2020, they might have updates or something changes on it in the next year or so. So I've kind of made a personal goal. It's going to be 2018 and prior until I get caught up
Okay.
with all the releases, and then I'll focus on the newer ones. At one point, I even toyed with doing a year in review, a 2018 book, but it was a combination of both released and
Yeah.
also ROMs, and it was way too much. I just got A
Oh
through
my
M,
goodness.
and that's as far as I got. So,
well, if anybody's been on Atari Age and checks out, the programmer section on the Atari Age and the 2600 portion of the Atari Age forums, you will know that there are a lot of homebrews that pop up from time to time, and it would be a
yes.
daunting task
Yeah.
to try to keep up with all of it.
If you were just trying to cover physical releases, I think that'd be doable. But if you're trying to cover ROMs as well, I don't even know where you start.
Right. I've literally got. I remember going to this list that we're going to be sharing from time to time on the show, but remember going on this list some time ago and downloading a bunch of ROMs along with some lists from Zero Page Homebrew, and I probably have nearly 2,000 ROMs for the 2600. I'm not
I was
kidding.
I was
It's
fixing I was fixing to say this one Tetra hard drive has my whole collection of homebrew, like not just the final ROMs, but it's got
Yeah.
development of everything. I got folders for every single title.
But with Atari 2600, you could fit basically everything that's ever existed on
Oh yeah, yeah,
what, 20 megs?
right. But every single version.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know how they post them in the forums. They have multiple versions. They come out
Yeah.
2 or 3
And
times
it's
a
in a
day.
thread. You have to hunt through and find
Yes.
them a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But that actually leads really well. Like you've kind of touched on it with like, I want to focus on having games from this era and this era. But what kind of, not necessarily criteria, but how do you decide what you're going to put into each volume?
Well, like I said, after volume 1, and I was like, okay, well, let me do one from every programmer. So I have a list, and I try to like series, like the Alien Greed series. I actually started, I think, in volume 2 with Alien Greed 1, and then I'm going. Number 2 was in book 3. Number 3 was in 4, and so on down the line like that. So I have a series for several titles that have multiple editions like that in books. Um, I try to pick the titles Atari Age releases. I try to pick titles that Good Deal Games releases.
Mm-hmm.
Any other type of I'm trying to think of some other companies, Pack Rat, other games that they release. I try to spread the wealth. So I mean, I try to get a little bit of here, there, you know, and I've
Equal
worked with
exposure.
yes, and I've worked with each of those guys that sells them online and have their permission to post information about how to buy it from them, So they see it as free advertisement, literally.
So I guess one question, because obviously, all of your stuff is printed and books are great, but have you ever thought about trying to take this information and maybe go a more digital route with it, like a website, or that might even have a subscription to it or something where you can easily update things, a lot easier and stuff?
Actually, my books are on Kindle, an e-reader through Amazon, where you can download them that way. So you don't have a physical copy, should I say? But no, I haven't pursued that. The last couple of years, I've been tied up with. In 2023, I was exploring doing a Mardi Gras doubloon checklist, and that got to be too much because from 1960 to 2023, it was way too many doubloons to do a checklist. And so then I stopped that. Then the end of last year, we found out we were getting an arena football team. Well, anybody who knows me, my online name is Arena Foot, which is short for arena football, because that was my true love, I guess, outside of video gaming. And so Arena Football League was coming back last November, and we had a team down the interstate called the Louisiana Voodoo, which I actually got to write their media guide for the team.
Nice.
And so that's what I spent from October of last year till April this year working on, and developing a fan club for the team. And because I knew the head coach, I've been knowing James Shiver for 25 years. I ran the fan club for an arena team that was in Baton Rouge back in 98, 99. So he ended up being the head coach of this team. So I kind of took that on, and that's why my homebrew books and the lists have been neglected for the last couple of years. But I'm back on working on the checklist book, the 20 book currently, and volume 6 is in the works also. And
I just wanted to show the helmet. I think that's so
Voodoo
cool
helmet.
looking.
That's a game used helmet and game used football. Yeah.
Sorry about that, Mike. Okay, let me get rid of that. Okay, stop screen. All right, there we go.
That's okay.
I got to talk it out. Sorry.
See you, Ricardo.
Lost you for a second.
You there?
Yep.
We're all
Okay.
here.
We're all here.
Okay, y'all still there? Yeah. I lost you for a second. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I want to talk. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, Phil.
I want to talk about the books, the forwards in the books. You have
Some friends of the show in here.
Yeah, look at that. Michael Thomason. But you have Jared Gray West, Daryl Spice Jr., Brent
Daryl
Weiss.
Spice. Yes. Weiss.
Who else? I mean, like these are big names in
Joe Christofi.
Yeah, these are big home brewers for the 2600. So
now, of course, all the writers from volume 2 through 5 were all at Houston 3 weeks ago at the Arcade Expo. I got to see it. 4 writers. Yes. Joe was
I'm
there.
sure Michael
Brett
would have
was
loved to be
there.
down there because it's warm, right?
Yeah.
He's always
Yes,
complaining about Buffalo weather.
Yeah. And he missed Wayne Chung also, because we had Wayne Chung was performing live Friday night.
Oh yeah, you told me that was going to happen, man. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that was a great concert.
Yeah, that would have been sweet. So for those of you that we're not going to do it right
Get
this
you ready.
second, but from time to time we're going to be showing a ticker tape at the bottom with some links. Okay, and there's a specific link for Atari homebrews that you can download. Which, by the way, there's also one for the Vectrix. This is a bonus. We didn't know we were getting this tonight. So if you emulate on the Vectrix, or you have a way of putting this on some kind of a multi-cart, or do like Mike and play on
Argon.
Argon, right?
Yep.
You know,
Argon.
you can download these games and play on your emulators. So so anyway, what was I what I was going to say?
Free ROMs. Can't go wrong with free ROMs.
Yeah, free ROMs, man. Just go with it. And
Well, of course, let me explain, because those links take you to a spreadsheet which has links where you can find the ROMs. I don't host the ROMs, so it
and
explains
I'm
what
not
the
gonna say
title
there
is,
might be
who the programmer is.
There will be some links that are dead. I mean, because it just happens, because these links have been, were put up there probably in like 2012 or 2000. The websites were initially put up, I should say. So some of them are
somebody that was
last
making somebody that was making homebrews 20 years ago probably, unless they're still doing it, probably doesn't have their links still live. And
disclaimer too, Brian was telling us that it's a work in progress. It's the latest games that I've seen on there are from 2021. So there are a number of games that have been developed since then that are not on this list, that we hope to get on there. But you guys don't understand the kind of work that it takes to find these things, to get them listed, put them up on the spreadsheet, and get it uploaded and whatnot. It is work. So but you guys, just if you hang on to that link and keep it in your bookmarks, check it from time to time for updates, because I'm sure that it will be from time to time. But it's been great, because I've played
Homebrew. Behind the 2600 homebrew community, Vectrex is the second biggest homebrew community out there.
Is it really?
Yes.
I would have thought ColecoVision. But
I'm not gonna lie. I really thought it was ColecoVision too,
or maybe I mean for second gen anyway. Maybe NES I would have guessed, but that's impressive.
I don't know that much about ColecoVision, so maybe they are. But I mean, from what I've seen in television, and 5200, 7800, 78's just coming to spitting out homebrews recently, because
especially with the 2600 plus and the 7800 plus. Yeah.
But it just seems like the volume of titles, the library that they have for Vectrex behind the 2600 has been the largest one that I've come across. But like I said, I don't know that much about ColecoVision, so it could be.
Maybe, but most of the ColecoVision ones are MSX ports anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, too, you were talking about Argon app.
Yep.
Okay. So something else y'all probably don't know about, because only 10 people in the world got this. So I live down in Louisiana, right outside Baton Rouge.
Okay.
I was born and raised outside of New Orleans, or as we call it, New Orleans. Mardi Gras is a big part of my family. So I actually got a programmer to make a Mardi Gras Atari 2600 video game.
Is it based on an old Mystique title?
No, it's the clean version.
It's not the French Quarter.
Okay, no.
I'm just waiting for post comment coming now.
It'll be good, I have no doubt.
That's going to be the sequel. That'll be Mardi Gras 2.
Yeah.
But
Mardi Gras 2 After Dark.
Yeah, but that is my test copy that was made by Repentless Video Games back in 2018. What it is, it was programmed by Ross Atkin in Britain, and I had to explain to him what Mardi Gras was because people in Britain did not know what a float was, what Mardi Gras beads, doubloons, cups, anything like that was. So I told him, imagine taking fast food, turning it sideways, having a little stick figure down at the bottom, going back left and right, having a
Yep.
float with a tractor go across the top, and you have throws falling from the tractor, and you run back and forth and catch the throws. And that is what he ended up programming. And it's got a title screen. It plays when the Saints go marching in.
Okay.
And I had 10 copies made from Atari Age.
All right.
And actually, when I sold them with Mardi Gras throws, footballs.
Oh, nice.
You know, you could alter that game really easily to be throwing beads.
Yeah, they throw beads, they throw cups, they,
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
With beads, with doubloons. It came with 18 doubloons, so that was the year that I started having it programmed,
Yeah.
2018. Mardi Gras World brochure, Blaine Kern's Mardi Gras World in New Orleans. Had a game program printed up, full color.
Okay.
Explains the game, gives you a history of Mardi Gras. Also came with a 2023 patch.
Okay, so what you're saying is I need to message you my address.
This is a sticker of
For a phenomenal
the high score,
fee.
for the high score patch. So if you
Okay.
score over 2,300 points on the game, you email me and I will send you the high score patch, just like Activision used to do back in the day. And I had stickers, and I actually have a float Mardi Gras card that I signed, and the float number is actually the cartridge number.
That's a nice set, and I gotta say, I wish everybody did the high score patches. I would just try to collect them all. I know Champ Games has one.
Yeah, I
For
lucked
dwarf.
out and found a standard patch that fit the game, so I bought several of it, dozens of those, but I still have to do more than 10 copies. I was only able to do 10 in the first round, and maybe for this coming Mardi Gras in February, I'll have another run done and sell it to the public online.
When you do that, send me a message, please.
Will do.
Yeah, looking
Gotta
at
get in there.
looking at the chat quick,
Will do.
it looks like a Guitar Rob mentioned something a little while back about, man, there's so many homebrew games I'll never be able to collect or maybe even play them all. And I definitely hear you there. And, my recommendation there, as much as I like physical, if you can get them digitally, I think that's a great way to go. It's a smaller entry cost because a number of them can be free. And then even some of the others, they're usually a low dollar amount to get the ROM. And then if you do have a flash cart, have it be a Harmony or, there's a couple different ones out there. It's a great way to experience the homebrew. And then the ones you really, really, really like, then
Then you get the physical.
Then try to go get the physical.
See, and that's where that list
Yeah.
list comes in, and in conjunction with these books, because you can use the two to kind of pick and choose. Because if you sit there and do like I did, because I'm very anal about that kind of thing, I just pick. I'm like, I got room on the hard drive. I'm putting them on there, right? So, but people might go, well, that game doesn't look like something. I'm not gonna put that on my computer. I'm not even gonna waste my time. But these books are really helpful in that regard. So yeah,
But the great thing too is with having the time to play them all, it's playing 2000 Atari games is not like playing 2000 PlayStation 2 games. You can there are a lot of Atari 2600 games that if you play them for 5 minutes, you've played basically the whole game. Just, it gets faster and more difficult, faster and more difficult, faster and more difficult. So if you're just like, I want to try every single homebrew game, it is doable.
I agree. Yeah. So I got the checklist, but I got
if
the
you have the Harmony cart, my books.
You kind of broke up.
My
there.
books
Was that Brian?
pretty much are a game manual for those ROMs.
Yep. Sorry, Phil, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna. We
Sorry,
didn't
Phil,
really
go.
bring up the checklist book very much. Tell us
Not
a
too
little
much.
bit. Tell us a little bit
Okay.
about this checklist book, because it's not the same as the smaller paperbacks. When I saw it, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but actually I kind of like it. Tell us a little bit about it.
I came across I'm trying to remember the old checklist books of the early 2000s. Somebody, the store up in New Jersey, Mike might know what I'm talking about, with the red cover and the blue cover that had the homebrews.
I know what
I'm
you're
trying to
talking
think of
about.
what-
I don't
what the
recall
name
the
of the
name.
book is. Yeah, I don't own the book, so I can't think of it and don't have it to show. But actually, the font and the box and the information is similar to how they had their book laid out, and they had it a lot smaller, and they had 2 columns of titles.
Digital press.
Well, they went very generic. Digital press, yes, that's what it is, and it was a lot smaller. Well, I know most of us are 40s, 50s, 60 years old, so I made it where we can read it. So, I mean, the text is big and bold.
Even I can read it.
So,
It's
yes,
not
you
like
can.
the microfilm that you had to put into the thing and
Right. But it contains the released titles and not just the ROMs or not the work in progress. This is actually has been sold to the public more than 2 copies, whether it was through Atari Age, Pack Rat, Hoser, Good Deal Games, even the Brazil people are going to be in the 24 one. Of course, I have some of the Brazil titles in here. I have the posters that came with the games. I have the patches that were available with the homebrew games. So it's supposed to be a checklist. You go through there and check off which ones you have in your collection. So then you carry this, because there's really no app on your phone that has homebrew available.
they don't catalog the homebrew. You can enter them in manually, but they don't catalog them.
Right. Who's going to do that? Yeah, who's going to do that if you have a whole bunch of homebrew, right? So the purpose of the black and white book was to have a cheap one where you can actually just check off. The color one is because people wanted to see the posters in color and the games in color, the cartridges that have multiple releases. You get to see the variances in.
Here, keep that up. I'm going to make you
labels.
full here. That's not the one that I wanted.
That's
Come
Phil.
on.
No.
That is Phil. Here we go.
Yes, that's Phil.
There we go.
There you go. So it has the variances of the labels over the releases. So like the black and white one here is from the late 90s, and then how it's evolved from the different publishers,
Yeah.
from Hoser to Atari Age, over the years.
That's really cool. I like. I've got a few Hoser games, and they still look like games that were made in '99.
Right. Yeah. And he's
But
still selling
there's
today.
nothing wrong
too.
with that. You know what? He sells them at that price point, though. It's Phil.
Correct.
There we go.
$11 and $16 still
Exactly.
today.
Oystron is amazing. I love that game. It's
And,
fast paced, but it's fun.
Mr. Baseman was asking if anybody here's played Space Drive-Thru yet. I personally haven't.
I have not either. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yes, I apologize, Poe. I put Phil full screen, much to everybody's chagrin. Although Phil, Guitar Rob thinks you're pretty.
I know.
He may have been referring to Brian's book, but we'll just say it was.
Oh man, no, he's got the little crazy face. He's got the little crazy face by there, so I think that's me. Oh, wait a minute.
What?
What happened?
Well, as soon as we read Joel's, there's something. We got some news, breaking news.
Oh,
We have breaking news.
Yeah, we have some breaking news. Hold on a minute. Yeah.
Oh, or you could.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
That's the breaking election news, isn't it? I see what you're doing, Phil.
Okay.
With 89% of precincts reporting, Goofy has 59% of the vote, and Mickey Mouse is 41%.
Boy, he came
We will
back.
let
I was
you-
gonna say that really swung the other direction.
We will let you, the audience, decide which
Wow.
parties Goofy and Mickey Mouse are running for.
I think the voting machines were tampered with.
oh.
Oh, this election between Goofy and Mickey Mouse will surely be contested for a very long time.
Sorry, we had to break things up a little bit. So I
was
wanted to
probably
also
Don.
ask you, I also noticed, and I forgot to mention too, in your books, it's not, okay, I'm going to let you explain. What's the difference between a homebrew and a hack?
Okay, so Homebrew is written by a programmer from scratch. A hack is actually an Atari game that was released back in the late 70s, early 80s on cartridge that the program has been dumped and altered. So sprites on the screen have been changed, and sometimes the colors have been changed, music has been changed, but it's still the gameplay still plays pretty much the same.
So
Yeah,
I did notice that
it's
there
just
are,
the look of them. It might change a little bit of the physics sometimes. Like there is a blurry line between hacks are sometimes lumped in with homebrews. It's kind of like they're entry level homebrews if you're a programmer, because you're just altering a couple things. The only quote unquote homebrew and actually the only person to have a complete cartridge copy of this in the world is Phil, because I gave him mine. But the only hack I ever made, I got Michael Thomason to make me 10 copies of it. But it's just Space
you
Invaders.
have to send that to me, man. He signed it for me though.
Yeah, but I have I can make more. I
Okay.
have 9 other circuit boards, but it's just Space Invaders with Star Wars sprites. But I made it, so I thought it was cool, so I got some boards made. That's a hack. It could be sold as a homebrew, but there is a differentiation. I consider homebrew to be newly programmed games.
Now, do you address hacks in your book? In your books?
In the volume books, I try to pick out one excellent hack, but no, I normally stay away from them.
Okay.
One that comes to mind was Kurt Howell, who was known as Nuki Shea in Atari Age
He's
forums.
very famous in the
That
homebrew
did
community.
he did River Raid 3, which actually you could shoot the buildings that were on land, and
Okay.
it would actually keep track of what you shot, how many you shot. Every time you died, it would give you a total screen, in like an intermission screen, instead of just resetting and going to the next plane. It would actually tell you how many boats you shot, how many copters you shot, how many bridges you shot. So that was one of my favorite ones.
Poe here is actually contributing to the conversation, which we
For
appreciate.
once.
But does anyone here, I have strong opinions on this, but actually, Brian, I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Does anyone here use the term pro brew for games from places like Audacity Games? I've heard
I
some
do.
games called that in the past.
Yes, I do. Actually, in the back of the checklist books, I have the current Atari SA and Audacity. I consider pro brew.
Okay, so what would you consider the difference between pro brew and homebrew?
Atari Age is homebrew, and those other companies that I just mentioned are pro brew.
Yeah.
That's where I draw the line.
What makes the difference? For instance, is Champ Games homebrew or pro brew?
They are homebrew.
Okay. What
In my
makes
opinion.
Audacity pro brew? Other than the
Because
fact that the programmers originally programmed on the Atari 2600 back in the day.
that's where I draw the line, because
That's the differentiation?
Yeah, that's what I consider. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion, but as far as how I consider it, Atari SA is Atari today. So Mr. Run and Jump, I consider a pro brew.
Okay.
Audacity, because it's David Crane and the Kitchens, because they worked for Activision, I consider that pro brew, because they were professionals that released back in the day. Atari Age is Albert, never worked for Atari before the buyout, and that's what I consider homebrew.
But that's gotten really muddied, though.
It's gotten really muddy, because now you have Atari releasing something from John Champeau and Bob DiPresenzo.
I know. Yeah.
So for me, I always just found anybody using pro brew to just be pretentious. That's just been my opinion. It's like it's or when they're like aftermarket. When I hear aftermarket, I think the crappy Mad Catz accessories. Homebrew for me is a blanket term. It's new games for old systems, pretty much full stop. But I'm not. Hey, everybody can have different thing, and quite frankly, between the two of us, you're the expert. So that's
so a good one I got for you, because it kind of changes the topic a little bit, but very much related to when we're talking about the whole hacks, like we distinguish as hack and homebrew. But again, we won't get into all the details of it. But I think last week there was a post, because there was an announcement of an Atari 7800 homebrew getting re-released by Opcode, and there was a post by the programmer of the original game, that was a little, I don't know, kind of upset a little bit about that. And I guess, what's your thoughts of that? When homebrew folks are making pretty much, for lack of a better term, copies of some of their games they loved growing up with, trying to, put them on a different console. What's your opinions of that? Like, how do you feel about that? Just knowing that news that kind of came out last week.
Well, I mean, first off, I understand why they're doing it, because they still want to get the title out there, and the few copies that are out there that hit eBay go for $200, $300, $400, and why not keep selling them just through a different outlet? I mean, I just use the term pro brew just because it's Audacity and Atari.
Yeah, no, it's
no. So go ahead, Mike. You're being
too, Brian. You're being too vague. Opcode Games announced that they're re-releasing Keystone Coppers from Muddy Vision was an Atari Age release for 7800. It was lost in the purge, and Opcode Games is re-releasing it. Somebody shared that on one of the Facebook forums pages, and Gary Kitchen actually responded to it. And he's like, it'd be much more gratifying if you guys made new games. Did I at least get credit in it? Which I can say, because I am reviewing that game this week because of the news. He is credited in the credits, inspired by Keystone Capers, which was Gary Kitchen. But it is a valid thing, and that's something that particularly people who make ports need to be aware of. I will never ever be upset at a IP holder. I know Gary Kitchen doesn't own the IP for Keystone Capers, but he programmed it. I'll never ever be upset with somebody who owns the rights to a game, reinforcing or enforcing their rights. And it's something that we do have to kind of remember. As flattering as it is, I mean, Keystone Capers is a fantastic game for the 2600, and he just made it a better version on better hardware, because you have the graphics and better music and all that stuff, but it plays identical. So that's what Brian was referring to.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too elaborate into it because I didn't want it to overtake the conversation. But yeah, I guess just what's your thoughts on that? Like, do you like where do you stand with that?
I guess with Opcode, I would still consider them as far as a homebrew and not pro brew. I don't really dabble that much in 7800, so that's why all this is news to me. Besides the new Popeye was being re-released by Opcode and a couple of others, but I hadn't seen.
Which is a fantastic version. I think what Brian's asking is, what are your thoughts with that situation when it comes to things like ports, and is that more what you're referring to, Brian?
Yeah, because again, knowing that you catalog all these homebrews and kind of what you kind of designate stuff, what is your opinions of that type of situation? What's your thoughts?
I mean, the programmers need to be credited for whatever they worked on that title. And even my spreadsheets, I have multiple programmers for, especially like Champ Games, that uses a whole team of people. So it's just not one person. So I mean, most of the time, even the design of the box, the label, the manual, there's somebody else who writes the manual and so on like that. So I feel that they should all be credited. Yes. Yeah,
including the original programmer that programmed the source material. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that answers.
I can't say I disagree.
Of course, like I said, 7800 is a little outside my realm,
Yes, but I mean, so the perfect example for the 2600 would probably be a Champ Games, like a John Champeau. Mm-hmm. He deals exclusively in ports, S tier ports, but they are ports, and so. Certain consideration needs to be taken in that, somebody originally designed that game and they should be credited. I totally agree.
Well, with the Pro Brew from Atari SA, when they re-released like Asteroids and Missile Command and all those for that 10 game set that was all in black boxes, I actually gave credit to whoever it was that created that game for Atari back in the day, in the checklist book. So
excellent.
So let me ask you a question, Brian. I've noticed mostly from our time as friends on Facebook, and I wanted to ask you this question: do you have a fondness for the Alien Greed series?
Yes.
And if so, why? I want to know, because I see it. It seems like I see it a little bit, and I just want to know.
Well, like
You
I
like it.
explained earlier,
I like it a lot.
that well, it's a series, so that was
Right.
the easy.
There's 4 of them now, right?
Easy, no, there's 6.
Oh, there's 6. Well, excuse me.
Yeah. So there are 6 of them. So that would take up one title in 6 volumes, and that was an easy series to go with. So every book has has Alien Creed 1, 2, 3. So, and that was Chris Reed's games. But I like number 3 because that was the one where it was making fun of T and the falling in the pit. So if you ever get a chance to play Alien Creed 3, I think that's probably the best one out of the series.
I'll have to try them out. I don't think I've tried any of them.
But the volume 1, the 34 titles that are in volume 1 were 34 of my favorite homebrew games, and that's how I started playing them. Then, like I said, after volume 1,
that's definitely one of mine. Ladybug.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have the collector's edition.
Oh, I don't have that. I got the regular plain Jane.
With the number on the back. With the Dynamo labeler. Yep.
So let me ask you another question.
Sure.
Are you involved in any way in the the Atari Age Homebrew Award process at all?
I was for the first 4 years. That was actually my idea, was to bring back the Stan Atari Awards. Were back in 2002 to 2004. And I had gotten with James from Zero Page to actually let's redo this awards that we had back in the day for best homebrew, best hack, and so on. And he's just taken it to another level. And I was compiling the lists. In other words, when I was using my lists for the comprehensive lists of all the games for that said year, I was actually sharing it with James, and that was what he was using for his completed homebrews, work in progress homebrews, completed hacks, work in progress hacks, and packaging, and so on. And he's just evolved it into the 4-hour show that it is today.
So now I'm going to ask you this question because I'm not sure of all of the categories because I can't remember. I'm going to ask you if there's a certain category, and if there's not, if you think there should be. Is there a category for best new homebrew programmer? New, like when I say new, someone that nobody's heard of.
No, there is not that category.
Do you think there should be?
Well, he actually has a, I'm trying to think of what it's called, where it's like a dedication award to a pioneer in the community, which I rather, in my opinion, I'd rather see that than a new upcoming programmer, because if that new programmer is good, their game is going to be good and win awards, whether it's the work in progress award, whether it's the best homebrew. But they're actually going back to the early days of, this person was influential in the community and giving awards to those people currently.
Yeah, I don't think that there'd be a problem with doing both, and I'll tell you why I say that. Okay, I think it would be nice to have both, and the reason I'm saying, Mike, oh, he's looking at something else.
I'm looking at Poe's comment.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Right.
I thought he was okay. The reason being is, I would like to see it. I would like to see it, and the reason why the problem is it would take it. It's usually the winners are by votes, correct? So so
Yes.
many people. That's the problem. There are so many people that don't know a lot of these. So who does the nominations for the
Well,
awards?
first off, it's all the titles that fit in that category. Then there's a
Yeah.
committee of, I think it's been like 13 of us that are on the committee that narrow it down because everybody can't play
Absolutely, we got like pick
26
top
minute
5
games.
or something, right?
Right. So
Okay. So my point
vote.
being is this. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just make it real quick. So if you pick the top 5, if you guys have a list and you guys kind of come up with a list of these brand new homebrewers, and you pick the top, you guys submit your picks, and if they overlap or if there's doubles or whatever, you guys can kind of pick who gets to be put on that list, and you guys can vote who gets put on that list or what. I think it would be neat to see, and the reason why I think it would be neat to see is because who knows who's going to be the next John Champeau on that list, or who's going to be the next Ricardo Pym, or who, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It would just be kind of nice to see, who's this guy, and then all of a sudden, like you say, if he's as good, he or she is as good as what you say, their games are going to win awards later on, and I think that award would be a good gauge to see what happens later on. See, that's the reason why I would like to see it. So I put in my 2 cents. So I'm done.
Yeah, it's quite possible. I mean,
And it sounds like Brian's
it's
giving
up
you
to
change.
James that he. It's quite possible because James runs the show now. I haven't been a part of it in the last 2
absolutely.
years because I was working on the Mardi Gras doubloons and then for the Louisiana Voodoo. So that's all on him now. But I mean, he's expanded it to every Atari console, even Jaguar and Lynx and 8-bit computers. And I know the show probably is going like 4 to 5 hours now. So, I mean, I think he might have way too many categories because he's got at least 2 to 4 categories for every console and then packaging and so on like that. So, I mean, there's way too many.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I think we've been on for about an hour.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have any other closing things you'd like to mention before we wrap up here, Brian?
No, I think we covered everything that I wanted to cover.
Okay.
I would
y'all
like
having
to. I would like to give an update. We're still with 89% recent reporting. Goofy's at 59%. And Mickey Mouse.
Goofy's still in the lead.
21%.
Yes. So for those of you who've been paying attention and not watching the other results, those are the main results that we really need to be.
These are the ones that matter.
These are the ones that matter on this.
I have heard Donald Duck as a write-in candidate is actually getting some votes.
We'll see. Listen, Brian, it's been a absolute treat for me to have you on here because I have a very, very deep love for Atari 2600 and also for the homebrew. And I know that these guys do too. And I hope everybody who's watching gets some use out of those lists that you provided. And I want to reiterate that the lists are not only at the ticker tape at the bottom, but if you're simulcast, whether you were simulcasting from Mike's Gaming Gala or you're here on Retro Bliss Gaming, there are links in the description right now where you can click on and get links for the 2600 homebrew list that's updated so far. It's not exhaustive and it's not completely updated. And then there's also one, but there's
on the
so
Atari
many.
2600 list, there is almost 4,200 homebrews.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And then there's also one for the Vectrix, And then, which is a bonus. We didn't know we were getting that. This is not a show on the Vectrix, but it apparently has a larger homebrew scene that I did not know about. And I'm
got about 320 on that list.
I'm so excited about that because I'm emulating now. I don't have a Vectrix yet, but I'm going to start emulating some of these. I'm going to check it out. And one last link. There's a link to your Amazon site where people can get these awesome books. These are amazing books. You guys got to get them, man. You've got to.
They are good books.
Yeah,
they are excellent books.
Yeah, man. They're just. I mean, even if you're like
Thank
Poe and
you.
you can't read, it's fun to look at the pictures. You know what I'm saying? It's just so much fun looking through these books. And seriously though, it's a valuable resource for homebrews. So Brian, thank you so much, and thank you audience for tuning in. And with that, I will try to get where I need to be so I can sign off. Okay. All right, guys. You guys have an awesome day, and we'll see you next time on Retro Bliss Gaming. Bye-bye.